0.
Okay, welcome everybody to the Scotts Valley Community Advisory Council meeting, the first meeting of 2026 on January 19th. I call this meeting in order at 5:07 hours. And we'll start right off the bat with the roll call. Jody?
Jody's here.
Jody's here. Cornelia?
Here.
And Jarrett?
Yep.
And Joel?
Yes, here.
And Rudolph's here. Greg's here. Okay, we got a full house. So welcome everybody. Happy 2026 to everybody. I hope this year's maybe starting a little slower than 2025 did. So our guest speaker tonight had a family emergency, so he will not be able to be here. We're going to try to reschedule for February to get him in here. So I apologize for that. It's just things happen sometimes, and we do the best we can. But I appreciate Jarrett getting him. I will ask for a motion to accept the posted meeting minutes and meeting agenda as printed. Jody makes the motion.
Second.
Second by Joel. All in favor, indicating by raising their hand. 5-0. Motion carries. Move on. Now it's time for public comment. If you see anything on this agenda that is not any subject that's not on this agenda, you can make comment on. So we ask you that you speak for 3 minutes, and we will not probably respond to it, but we'll consider it for future agenda items. Margot, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Happy New Year, Scotts Valley. Margot Kambara. Lake County Board of Supervisors proclaimed January 2026 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month in Lake County. Polly Kloss Foundation will present how to stay safe online and in the real world. The presentation locations I'll cover in a bit. The dinner will be served at 5:30 p.m. Presentation begins at 6 p.m. The presentation is open to the public and appropriate for youth 12 to 16 years old. The evening's program includes gift cards, door prizes, and free childcare. Topics include real consequences of sexting and sex trafficking, dangers of running away, and how to spot the red flags of online behavior. Program sponsors include Club of Lakeport Rotary, Kelseyville Sunrise Rotary, Club of Clear Lake Rotary. School sponsors include Upper Lake Unified School District, Lakeport Unified School District, Middletown Unified School District, Kelseyville Unified School District, Canocti Unified School District, Lake County Office of Education, and partner organization Lake Family Resource Center. For the dates and locations of the presentation, upcoming are Tuesday, January 27th, Middletown Middle School. Wednesday, January 28th, Upper Lake/Lucerne at the middle school. Thursday, January 29th, Canocti Unified at Obsidian Middle School. And on Friday, January 30th, Canocti Unified at the Obsidian Middle School will be the Spanish language presentation. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Margot, for that. I know the Rotary Club I'm in is very proactive. In fact, two of the members kind of spearheaded that. It's interesting to learn that there's a lot of trafficking across Highway 20 because of the remote area from the east to west side of the state. It's Highway 20 is a lot of traffic and moving back and forth, and people staying in the hotels when they're moving the traffic people. So,
Can you send me the link so I can put it in the minutes? It's easier than writing it down.
yeah, so it's a good cause, and I know at the Kelseyville one, the high school, when we already had a meeting, there was over 150 parents there with their kids, so it's working pretty good. Thank you for sharing that. It's, I feel, a very important thing. With that, thank you. Anybody else have any comments? Not seeing any. We'll move on to Our guest who is not here, was a consulting ecologist, had a family emergency, so he'll not be speaking tonight. We'll plan on trying to get him back for the February meeting, the third Wednesday in February. And
Monday.
third Monday, that too. Yeah, third Monday, and too many meetings. Third Monday, thank you. And he was going to be addressing the invasive plant situation and major segment of dynamics in the Scotts Creek wilderness. So we'll go on to now council business. Considering the passing of the draft minutes from the last meeting, do I have a motion from November? Do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
I motion to accept those minutes.
Cornelia made the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. No nays, no abstentions. Motion carries. Minutes are accepted in part of the record. Old business, council member terms would be, the board will ratify the membership of Joel and myself in February, or I believe this month, later on this month, or no, in February, the first meeting in February, and then we'll be voting for the officers at the February meeting. So that is our council business.
There might be more people, wanting to join.
The date's already closed on the application, so
I thought it was ongoing.
that's when I went to talk to the gal. Maybe she misunderstood me. I asked her if they're still open.
I thought it's, whenever.
Yeah, I think they closed it in January because that was the date for the things to be in, and then the board needed to ratify or pass those appointments. So there was only 2 people that applied, Joel and myself. So you're stuck with us, I guess, and once the board, if the board passes it. I hope they do. Anyway, okay, old business, okay, fine. New business, we have none. So we're going to move right into the supervisor's comments. Supervisor Brad Rasmussen, it's all yours, sir. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, council members. Is this on? Yeah. 1 second here.
Excuse me.
First item, the County Department of Water Resources is gearing up to get their hitch count volunteer crew in order. They're looking for about 40 volunteers this year to do citizen science hitch surveys throughout the county. We did that last year. Last year was the first year of the citizen science volunteer program, where basically how it works is you attend a training and you go out once a week on a day that you select that you're going to do that week, every week, and you keep the same day for 10 weeks. And you go out and you survey your assigned location, you count hitch. And then you fill out your observations on an online application program on your phone and report that back to Water Resources. So just bringing it up in case you yourselves or anybody that might be interested in volunteering for that program, you would need to contact Department of Water Resources right away. I don't know. When I checked before the Big Valley meeting last Wednesday, they still had some openings. I don't know if they still do, but a call to them would make that determination. But you also do have to go through a background check because you're considered a county volunteer. The background check basically is just a live scan of your fingerprints. So it's really no big deal, other than you also have to fill out the application. And the reason for that is because you're covered, by the county's workers' comp if you're out there doing work for us. So basically, you're a volunteer. Yes, go ahead, Greg. Sheriff Scott.
On the survey, it's just the creeks, just the different creeks around the
Yes.
lake? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, they have, I believe, 39 or 40 observation spots on creeks that are used by hitch for spawning. So we're coming into spawning season. This program starts in March, and it runs for 10 weeks. I think it starts the second week in March and runs for 10 weeks. I did it last year, and it takes about an hour, depending on where your spot is. It took me about an hour to drive there, observe, fill out my form online, and drive back home.
No fishing license needed?
No. But the importance of this program is it doesn't replace the DWR work and the counts they're doing, or the work of the Department of Fish and Wildlife, or the work of the United States Geological Survey, who also has fish biologists doing hitch work here. So this program provides supplemental data for the overall picture of the keeping track of what's going on with the hitch. So it's important. And Scotts Valley, Scotts Creek is a hitch spawning creek. Scotts Creek and some of its tributaries, such as Hendricks Creek, would be hitch spawning creeks. So just wanted to mention that. And secondly, we did hire an animal control director. Her name is Rachel Smith. She'll be here from out of state towards the third week of February to take over management of our animal control division. And she does have a fair amount of experience that also includes having worked at a county animal control in the state of California before her current position in another state. So we're looking forward to getting her here and up and running at animal control. I wanted to mention the Resource Conservation District. I believe it was in December they reached out, and unfortunately we weren't able to really connect them with the Scots. I think I did have them email all the council members, but you guys didn't have a formal meeting to be able to consider a possible support letter for a grant they're applying for. But I did write one from the District 4 Supervisor's Office in support of an RCD grant to the State Water Board that basically seeks to get money. I think it was around $250,000, I don't remember exactly, to do a study on sediment reduction in Scotts Creek, and also some habitat enhancement work in the Scotts Creek area. They have a spot selected where this would happen. I don't remember exactly where that spot is, but the point is that it would be to work on finding out what's going on with sediment, how we can reduce sediment, and also habitat enhancement. As you guys are well aware from previous presentations here and other information, that Scotts Creek is the largest producer of sediment into Clear Lake. And that's a known fact. So this is an important project that they'd be working on in conjunction with other things we have going, like, for example, the Middle Creek project, which is huge if we can ever get that thing ready to go. There's still a lot of property that has to be acquired. But anyway, that's a summary of that. I'll get to you in just a second, Joel. I will leave my last item. I'll make comments under the item that talks about Scotts Valley infrastructure related to the valved culvert. I'll wait until we get to that item. Go ahead, Joel.
Yeah, thank you, Brad. You're guessing, but the sediment in Scotts Creek is sort of an interesting question because it comes from upstream, right? It comes
Yes.
from the Cow Mountain area, which is regulated or governed or owned by the Bureau of Land Management and the federal government. So is the study going to give us some suggestions about, well, that's one problem, is we can't solve it. Only the federal government and the Bureau of Land Management can solve it. And the second problem that I have a little more sympathy, or I have some compassion for. There may be Native American artifacts in the creek bed now, covered up along with the other sediment and the gravel that has either been there and been covered up or washed down from upstream and is there now. And I think that's a difficult problem to untangle, because I want to have some respect for the Native Americans, and if they consider those things to be sacred and important, then I don't want to mess with them. On the other hand, I don't think that the creek is necessarily in good health when the bed keeps filling up. Now, maybe a natural thing to do would be to let it fill up, take down all the levees along the creek, and let it flood every winter. That might be a natural solution, but it seems sort of radical for me as I think about it. So anyway, I don't know if you have any thoughts about the scope of this study. Is it going to get into those difficult problems?
My understanding is this study is going to be a defined area where they're going to be doing work, and I'm not really qualified to answer all the questions about how it's going to work, or I would suggest that maybe we get the RCD out here at a future meeting, and hopefully they will get the grant. I don't know when they're going to find out whether or not they get it, but I would believe that the tribes would be concerned about artifacts, but again, I'm not qualified to really answer what may or may not be in the creek, but I can tell you that whatever projects or work's going to happen, they're going to have to go through the proper environmental reviews to answer those kind of questions. I myself am not enough of an expert to be qualified to really weigh in or answer all those questions, but I think it'd be beneficial to, I know the Scotts Valley tribe has been here in the past at some of these meetings, and I'd like to see them back here again. I understood they were willing to come on a regular basis, but I think they could give us a presentation on what the artifacts, concerns with the artifacts may be, and also the RCD. It'd be good to get them here. They did state that they want to still engage with Scotts Valley Advisory Committee, so I think that would be important. And then the BLM, yeah, that's a big animal. That's a big bureaucracy that we have to figure out how to work with and engage. And I would say that, no, we can't solve all these issues without the BLM, but the BLM can't probably solve them without our collaboration together with all these other organizations. So we really need to get BLM here too, to be discussing those kind of things. I don't know all the answers to why, we have the sediment, but there is a belief that, a lot of the sediment's coming off the federal land, so we do need them to weigh in on that. And sorry, I don't have better answers, but
No,
that's
a perfect,
very
direct
complex.
answer. That's a perfect answer,
Yeah.
Brad. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was very direct.
Any other questions at this point?
No, I wrote a letter on behalf of our neighborhood fire
Great.
safe.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm sure that would be helpful, and hopefully they will get the grant. I also want to just briefly mention, because we need to get some data back on this, is when is Water Resources going to have the selected RFPs for the flood study in Scotts Creek? As you remember, we gave $100,000, been going back to 2024 now, for this flood study. That the reason there was some delays on getting it is they were waiting because they had other projects, and we were able to do it for less money by adding it into something else that was already going to have a consultant working on. So, but I do want to get Water Resources back at some point here soon and find out what's going on with that RFP. My last understanding was that it would have been going out this past fall for an RFP. But that's something we want to, I think, keep on the radar, because that flood study may have important information for how we can get to where we need to be with managing the creeks and the vegetation too that's in the creeks. And I think I'll leave it at that, other than hopefully I'll hear at some point what's going on with the Women's Club as far as the nonprofit status. And
Unfortunately, when I called them, it says it can take months.
yeah, it can. So so I guess my answer is it's moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I'll keep some money available. I won't spend it all.
Keep adding to it,
Adding to it.
Inflation is
Okay.
rampant.
All right. I'll leave it at that unless there's any other. Yes.
I had a different question. I want to ask you, Brad, if you know about I'm sure you know about the sewer spill in the Clear Lake area, Burns Valley?
Yes.
Okay, so, what I read is that there's a 2.9 million gallons of raw sewer spilled because of a pipe broke. And I guess what I'm interested in is there going to be some analysis of why the pipe broke and what kind of maintenance and inspection needs to be done so that doesn't happen again? And I guess I'm somewhat relieved that's not in my backyard. But on the other hand, those people are also residents of Lake County, and I don't know. I guess their watershed is completely separated from ours, and I guess our watershed is separated from the watershed and the sewer pipes around Lakeport, I suppose, but I don't really know that. So will there be an examination or some kind of consideration about what to do to prevent such problems from happening again?
Yes. Yes, that's part of, if we have infrastructure issues, whether it's sewer or something else, we're going to look into, what the causes are and how we can make those improvements. So that I don't have answers to all that. We're about 9 days into this situation, but we certainly will be looking into those and also how we can improve systems to try to minimize these kind of things. Unfortunately, things happen with infrastructure, whether it's here or around other parts of the state or country. A lot of the infrastructure is older, so it does require, ongoing maintenance and reviews to make sure that we have plans in place to address it, to try to prevent these things. We certainly don't want these things to happen. We would rather be able to know ahead of time and be able to keep things in the right condition. So hopefully that answers your question as best I can at this point.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
And as far as the groundwater here in Scotts Valley, you don't have any sewer infrastructure out here in Scotts Valley. Everybody's on septics and wells. So it's a little bit of a different situation. And your aquifer, while I'm not an expert on it, I think it's independent of any other surrounding ones, but I don't know that for a fact. It may, in fact, be somehow connected to the Big Valley groundwater. I don't know, but I'm not an expert on that. But, even with septic tanks, those can be concerns too. So those require ongoing maintenance, and, you want to also not have those things fail.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else at this
Yeah,
point?
don't go away because you're up to the next item.
Okay.
So go ahead and just stay there because we're going to go right into it. Brad, we're going to be talking about the observation of groundwater, fire mitigation, and the Scotts Valley infrastructure. So why don't you go ahead and take care of that, address subject first.
Yeah, and Sky, I believe they'll allow public comment.
Yeah.
Or did you want to take public comment on my comments first, or?
I
We
think
can.
these observations can be from anyone, that's why it's vague.
Correct, but is there public comment allowed on my report?
We can allow it. I'll open it up for public comment for Supervisor Brad. Anybody
So
have,
if there was any comments
anybody
to
have
my,
something? Go ahead, Sky.
just limited to my report at this time. Yeah, you can take an extra mic, Sky.
Unless you want to. We'll talk about the pigs.
Yeah, it's Sky Hoyt. I live here in Scotts Valley. I just wanted to comment that the use of the term sedimentation is sort of a soft pedal of what's really happening is the erosion of the topsoil off the surface of the earth. And it's a criminal loss of this vital topsoil for the history of humanity. So just to dismiss it as sedimentation, I think kind of soft pedals the whole thing. The amount of soil that flows through Scotts Creek at each peak rainfall event is horrendous. The creek turns to looks like chocolate milk. It stays that way for some number of days. I wish we had some great numbers to see how much sediment is actually in there. And then it'll clear up, it'll go away. And if that were to happen once a year, that would be more like a normal pattern. But every significant rainstorm that comes creates another huge load of that so-called sediment or erosion, which is really what it is. It's being eroded off the top of the earth, and it's being lost to humanity again. So this is, to me, probably the number one huge ecological problem in the Scotts Valley watershed. And it shouldn't be soft pedaled, it shouldn't be dismissed, it shouldn't be looked at as just, unstoppable, the way of things, the nature of the earth. It's not like that. This is a real serious problem. It appears to me to be worse in Scotts Creek than any other riparian system in Lake County.
Thank you, Sky.
And just to be clear, I'm not trying to minimize when I use the word sediment. It's just, that's how I describe it, the sediment issue.
Said that, but just remember, I like to use the term erosion.
Yeah, that's fine. And it is the biggest producer of sediment, Scotts Creek, in the county, into Clear Lake. So that's why it's a critical issue. And I think why, this work that the RCD is trying to do is going to be critical too. But we still need to get, the federal government involved because they own all these mountains up here where a lot of that erosion, topsoil is coming from.
Right.
So.
I have one more comment about that, if I may. The U.S. Geological Survey used to operate 2 water gauges on Scotts Creek, one on the lower fork and one on the main fork up off of Riggs Road, and it's sort of at the edge of the BLM land. Last time I looked, our government has decided to defund those water gauges, so the U.S. Geological Survey doesn't have enough money in their budget to maintain and operate and report. Those water gauges did report on turgidity, which I think is another term for sediment or topsoil suspended in water. So now we're deprived of that information, which would be helpful to have. And besides me just getting sort of irritated about the federal government, divesting itself of its responsibilities, I suppose there's some other way of figuring out how much sediment, how much topsoil comes through Scotts Creek in a year, and where it ends up. I'm assuming it ends up either in the bed of Scotts Creek or ends up in Clear Lake itself. So maybe we have to consider some other way, or maybe there is some other way of measuring that. I've never seen a number for the tons of topsoil coming down through Scotts Creek into the lake on a monthly basis or a yearly basis or during one of these flood events. I mean, is it tons? I mean, hundreds of tons? I have no idea how much topsoil is going into the lake.
I don't know either, but I think the answer is both. It's in the creek and a lot of it's going into Clear Lake, through the drainage where it comes in, where Scotts Creek comes into, and Middle Creek merge and go into the Rodman Slough. And that's why, you know, if on certain days you drive out there across the Rodman Slough Bridge, look out into the lake, you'll see an island forming out there from the sediment. So it's going into the lake. You'll see it, and that's why also this Middle Creek restoration is critical to restore the natural marshlands to filter out this sediment to keep it from getting in the creek. That's the whole point of this Middle Creek restoration, to put it back to, you know, the lake naturally took care of itself also. And I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more sediment today than there ever was, you know, a million years ago, because the lake's been here for 2.5 million years, but it did before we changed it with all the levees and stuff out there. It was naturally set to kind of manage itself and have those marshlands to filter out the sediment. So there's a lot of moving parts that need to get worked on to get back to where we should be. And again, I'm not sure if that answers your question, but
I think my question was pretty hard to answer.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'd say is maybe someone who is paying more attention to the health of Clear Lake is already checking turgidity in the lake or at Scotts Creek. And I don't know if there is such, I don't know if there is a gauge down in near the Eichhoff Bridge, and I don't know if that gauge
right.
records and measures turgidity or not.
Yeah, and I think some of those testings are being done. I don't know by who or when. But I also don't know why those gauges came out. That's something we're going to have to follow up on and find out and determine why were they taken out and can they go back in, or if not, can someone else do one? I think that's stuff we need to look into.
Is that something we can get county water resources to research a little?
I can ask them to look into it, yes.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess there's no other public comments on that report?
No, so we're going to move into observations of regarding groundwater, fire mitigation, and Scotts Valley infrastructure, item E. So I think you had something to address on regards to the Valves Culvert and the situation there.
Yes, I wanted to briefly talk about, I mean, I guess I call it the valved culvert or gated culvert. I don't know what the proper name for it is, but during the past storms in December, we did have flooding out in Scotts Valley, Scotts Creek. And so, of course, the gated culvert was coming up on questions. I got numerous calls from constituents out here. I actually went out there one day, met with Sky there, Joel, and Mr. Doug Patton. The four of us were out there looking at it. And I had received some calls about, you know, when does it get open? What's the procedure? So I tried to track that down again. Basically, what I'm understanding from the county is that infrastructure, being the gated culvert, belongs to the Department of Water Resources, the County Department of Water Resources. And that they are the ones that make determinations on when it should be open, when it should be closed. They work in conjunction with our Public Works, who always has people on call during storms because they're getting road calls. So that agency helps them with opening or closing the gated culvert when they determine it should. I was advised by Water Resources that they use both available gauge data as well as in-person's observations to determine when they should open or close that culvert. The problem with that culvert is that if it is open to receive water when the creek is higher than where the culvert comes out, that water is going to backflow from the creek into the ditches back into Scotts Valley. So they have a method based on their checking gauges and observations to decide, if the creek's going to get high, they close it. That's what they do. Then they try to monitor for when they can open it to start draining the valley. And this particular day that I went out there, Water Resources or Public Works, not sure which, I believe you said it was Water Resources. Well, but Joel was there when they opened it. He talked to the person. So right before you got there, right before I got there, and then a few minutes later you got there. So I showed up and Joel said he just left within the half hour.
Something like that.
And opened it. We went and observed the culvert, and I would say it was about, the creek was up and flowing strong, probably eyeballing it, I would say 6 inches of the top of the culvert was out of water on the creek side. And so there was a little bit of free culvert. So apparently that was, in my opinion, a great time that it got open, because I could clearly see the heavy volume of water flowing out of the ditch, flowing very hard into the creek, creating kind of rapids there. So even with that just a little bit, it had plenty of room to start draining. Now, if that water had been above that culvert, it still would have stayed closed. It wouldn't have been ready to receive more water. And unfortunately, it's going to take a little while for the creek to go down, and in the meantime, we're going to have all that water sitting on the road and in the ditches until it gets to a couple days with no rain, where the creek is down low enough that we can open it. So, and I've talked numerous times last week to Water Resources, letting them know I have constituents that want to know what is, is there a written procedure, is there a schedule? I haven't got that from them, but I'll check in with them again. I know Sky, that's what he was asking for, is a copy of a written procedure. But so far what I've gotten is they're telling me this is how we observe it. We check the gauges, we look at it, we make those determinations. And I would have to say they did it, I think, right on the day that I was out there. So
What gauges are they checking? Its own gauge.
there's a gauge just down at, what's the bridge, Hendry, or Eichhoff Bridge? I think that's the gauge.
Still one there?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a gauge at Eichhoff.
Well, there's some confusion as to whether it's still functioning.
Well, I'll double check with Water Resources, but there is a gauge in the creek that is working that they use.
Okay.
So I would have to go back and check with them.
Yeah, well, there's one there, and then there's another one at the Green River Bridge.
I don't know if that works,
I don't know either,
but that's the one that's up here, right?
right,
I don't know if that works.
yeah.
But there's, I was wrongly assuming that the ICOF is the gauge they use, but I believe it's still working.
Yeah, I haven't looked.
Yeah.
I usually don't look down there, but I
Yeah.
can look. When it floods at Eichhoff, the water comes from across the road from that field.
Right.
It's never from the creek itself.
Hmm.
In the 25 years I've lived there.
Right.
It's just, I don't know, I mean, it's just the valley, it fills up.
I
It has to
think
go
we have
through.
more than one thing going on. I think we have
Yeah,
a full creek. And then I think when we have heavy storms and the rain is going into the groundwater,
it takes a while to
if
go.
the aquifer's full, the ground can't receive any more water. And I think might be where some of that's coming from.
But
but-
this year, it's drained much faster than ever before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
But, you know, I think, you know, there's some folks, maybe we need to get out here again to another meeting and, go ahead, Chair Scott.
Yeah, so in conjunction with that, the drainage ditch that's along the road.
Yeah,
I'm getting the impression from listening to folks that the county has been more proactive this or last year in cleaning that out than before, or am I just imagining that?
no, I think they were out there this year digging it out. They did.
Blackberry bushes.
Yeah, they did a lot of work, and they also fixed a culvert for the Rickabaugh property or whatever that, based on some previous work they had done, they had some finalization they had to come out and do. I know they did that, and I know they did ditch work on the ditches that are owned by the county. And as I understand, not all ditches are county property in the valley. Some are. Is that?
Well, certainly the one that services my property, they refused to maintain, saying it was homeowner's built.
They're saying that that's not
Specifications.
right. But the ditch further down is a county ditch where they did the work.
I think wherever they're maintaining it,
Yeah, there's a button.
they're
I'll show
assuming
you.
it's their
Yeah.
ditch. It's hard to
Right.
find these terms.
Yeah, we don't want
Right.
to leave it on.
So that's the information I have on the gated culvert infrastructure. And as far as groundwater, I think,
We have lots of it.
Could I interject something about the culvert before we move on?
yes,
My understanding is the original design, you know, or the grade that the culvert was put in was based on that there was going to be a pumping system. I'm sure that's totally cost prohibitive now. But this other thing that's come up, and you know, I have a little bit of an engineering background on this stuff, was the idea of just extending the culvert out into the creek, turning it down the creek and creating a static suction system out of it from the current in the creek. I'm just wondering whether the county water quality, whether anybody's ever put that back on the table again about creating a suction device out of that that's static and doesn't require a lot of money or maintenance. Because the problem is the grade of the culvert. You know, as soon as the creek's too high, the culvert can't really help us on the flooding on the highway. But could we, without spending a whole bunch of money, get this thing to where it'll draw, you know, by creating a suction device?
I'm not sure that's a question we'll have to address with Water Resources.
Yeah, I just wondered whether you'd ever even heard that come up with them.
No, the only thing I've heard is that some years ago, and I don't know the year, this valved culvert design was decided that that was the thing that should be there. But maybe that needs to be readdressed.
Well, I just think it was based on this whole idea that it was going to have a pumping system at some point on it, which would make sense why the grade is what it is now.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense from not having a pumping system.
I think it's a good question that we should try to get some more information on.
Okay.
Yeah, Brad, I don't want to bring up an old dragon that's been dead here, but and before you were supervisor, but I had a lot of very direct, behind-the-scenes, one-on-one conversations with the former supervisor about the levee system that has disappeared out here or over time worn, and efforts to try to look at that system and what it could do to help control the flooding. The heartache I had is that the money went away to different things and different focuses that I was hoping to say that some of that could have been shared to looking at that levee system that was once obviously or apparently in history something that helped the erosion, wash of water and so forth from BLM coming down and controlling it. I know right by the Fells culvert, that levee that used to be there, it just floods right through that area. and what I've looked at maps and trying to relocate the old system. So my question or my thought is, to us all, is that levee system, is that a good idea? Is it worth looking into, or is it just something in the past? And I've given up my opinion on it because I lost the battle and the money went elsewhere to look at that.
I don't think it's being looked into right now, but that's something that's why this flood study is important, to look at all those things, and hopefully it will identify some things that we can then try to get funding for as a project to make improvements. But, I mean, I'm going to have to defer and wait until we get this study to see some data on what it recommends, and then if there's things that the county can do or should do, then that's where the work's going to start to try to get funding again.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is I was hoping that study does look into the old levee system. Is it something that was worthwhile or not? That's all.
I
I'm
think
not
it's going to look
an expert
into.
in.
I think it's going to look into anything related to
Okay.
the creek out here.
Okay.
And we do need to push on the fact that there is the levee breach just upstream from the culvert.
Right, that's what I was referring to.
And that needs to be a really high priority thing for them to analyze.
Right. Yes. Any other questions
Anybody from the audience
or public?
on this summit? Yes, Guy.
Your mic here, I'll get it for you, Scott.
So one of the great things about the erosion in the Scotts Creek watershed is it takes no brains to find out when the culvert wasn't closed at the right time. Because the muddy water backflows through that culvert and it shoots back up that ditch. So when you go back up to almost to Joel's house, or go up to you just track it back up there and it's all muddy water, and you get to where the water is runoff water, which really appears to come from the fields across the street from Joel's, that water's clear. I mean, it takes no brains to figure out if that water came from the creek or did it come from the land. Now that may not be true through the entire rainy season, but it was true every time that there was water flooding at Joel's this year. And it appeared clearly that at least on one or two of those times, that gated culvert was not operated correctly, and the high sediment or high erosion containing water flowed through that culvert and ran back up in there. So that goes to fault, and literally to fault of the people who were in charge of operating that gated culvert.
Yeah.
Now the problem is, great, you say, well, why don't you know when it happened? Well, once the road floods over, I don't have an easy way to get up there to look.
Yeah.
So we have to rely on the public servants to do this. And one of the part of the narrative, I think, that you left this out, Brad, about, I think the water resources guy told you that thing was controlled by a flapper valve. Well, there is no flapper valve on that culvert, and you asked me to go up there and check, and I went up there and checked. No, there's no flapper valve on that. And I think that guy who runs that department, he needs to take responsibility for not having the correct information. And they have not, have not, maybe it's changed now, but they did not operate that valve correctly. And it just doesn't, you don't have to be a super scientist to figure it out. You look down in that ditch, and if it's all muddy water, that's creek water.
Yeah.
Now that may change as the year goes on, but so far, every event we've seen, that's been true.
Okay. Well, there is this wild card, though, Sky, of that breach in the levee could explain a lot of that muddy water, too.
It could, that's true.
Yeah.
And if that happened early on, the first couple times, maybe it would.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true, it could well explain that.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Could be
yeah,
a mix of the two, perhaps.
right. But, yeah.
We
But I
need
mean,
to-
I've observed it when I have seen it, not in this particular storm, but I've seen it where the muddy water's just shooting through there. It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And I apologize, Sky, I didn't intentionally leave that out, but you and I did talk many times
Yeah, that's an important point.
over the holidays, because the information I was given is that it had another flapper valve, but that has since been determined, and I've talked to Water Resources. There is no other flapper. It's only a culvert with the gate. That's it. So if the gate's open, there's no other flapper in there. Now, I think there could have been confusion because there are other culverts that have that kind of a setup, and whether this one did in the past, I don't know, but we know today it does not.
Well, I think it's a unique system.
Yeah,
Because using that gate on it, because I know the ones up in Upper Lake, they rely on flapper valves.
yeah.
So I think this.
And that's what
the
I was,
Water Resources Director might have presumed
Yeah.
that this one was done in the same way.
Right.
But it wasn't.
right.
Yeah.
Do we
Well, I
have-
appreciate you bringing that up, Sky, and thank you.
And the other thing, go back to what it was, the original design was. I was there when the original design happened, and there was the original design included a pumping component. And they wanted to put an engine-driven pump on there, and actually electrical driven and engine driven for when the power went out. It would lift water from out of there after the gate would close, and it would lift water out of there and throw it up over there and dump it into the creek. And that got axed because, well, for whatever reason, cost savings or whatever. And then when I remember seeing it when they were installing that culvert. I went over and I looked down, they had dug out the thing for the crisis, and I talked to her, that thing's not big enough. You gotta be kidding me. What, it's a 20-inch culvert, 24-inch culvert? It's a relatively small piece of pipe compared to the ditch they dig out to hold the water. The ditch is 4 feet wide and 6 feet deep. If you look at it, that's not big enough. And I don't know, so I suspected right at that time that when they engineered it, they went out and they looked for some spare piece of part or pipe in the parts yard, and they decided to install that. But I thought I just looked at it, that's insane. It's just not big enough. But maybe that was the original design when they were going to pump it over the top. Now, I will tell you that one of the reasons that pumping it over the top is not the end-all thing is because it would be irresponsible to create more flow downstream that might flood other properties. So it becomes kind of a complicated thing to figure out how do you manage that against all the potentially affected people. So, but what we have going on now, this is just ridiculous.
Okay,
Do
go
we-
ahead.
Do we have a Department of Water Works director at this point? Do we have a director of Department of,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
He's new, right?
Well, he's been there for better than a year.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question. You mentioned that there is a gauge that is being monitored. Is it being monitored passively or actively?
No, it's
In other words-
inactive. People look at when they need to at the county.
Okay.
It's not a scheduled operation.
Right, but sometimes, when it's active, when it's an active system, when it reaches a certain amount, it sends out an alert or an alarm so people know that you have to go out and look at it. You just don't, come in.
Well, when you look at those gauges, you from the bridge or wherever you're looking at, unless you got a real big pair of binoculars, you're not going to be able to read anything. You have to get pretty close to it, or however it's done. So I'm not familiar how they collect the actual reading.
So somebody, like for example, I think the Rumsey gauge, everyone can go onto a website and see what it looks like.
It's
If
not
there's something like that might allow Water Resources to be more proactive, and also maybe like a flock-like camera to see
Yeah.
if debris buildup
I
is
think
coming.
we
Well-
should ask them. This is just speculation
Yeah.
and it's a waste
Now
of
They
that
do
bread-
look on the
Yeah.
internet to read that gauge,
So it is,
as far as I know, yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Well,
They
that's
check it on their phone.
perfect.
So-
So,
yeah, they don't have to check it in person.
They don't have to go out there and read a
Right.
gauge.
all right, that's, yeah, and then, okay,
You can read it right now.
great.
And now the questions about if this is absolutely the perfect way to do it, but that gauge has got 24/7 monitoring.
Okay, does it have an alert that if it's a certain height that it?
No, I don't know.
So just
Somebody'd have to look at it.
Okay.
Figure that out.
Well, that would be something to, like a small.
But we did, Joel and I located this, and just, it's intriguing. It's not literally on the Ikoff Bridge. You have to walk on the driveway
Right.
back upstream, and you find this big vertical piece of culvert out there. I think it's culvert, something like that, round pipe, and it goes down into the creek bed, and then it goes horizontally out to somewhere, and who knows how it works. So the idea of questioning its accuracy, I think, is valid, but we did find it's not a mystery, you know, it's not like this whole like whodunit kind of thing, you know, there is, but that's what we got to look at. And
Well, you know, if I'm listening to all this, I guess the one question was, that started this thing, was there a written set of instructions about this, this particular valve culvert or whatever? And I'm thinking, okay, apparently they're getting back to Supervisor Rasmussen with a written procedure or whatever they provide or come up with. I would hope that maybe possibly something that might be included or might support this checklist of being written up. When you have a fire or emergency, you dial 911 and they come a running. Maybe if we post some if the county could post some signs by that valve culvert and up the road, if the culvert needs, the call for the operating of the culvert is this phone number, whether it's 911 and they contact the people, or there's a phone number that somebody will answer. And so we as citizens out here see this condition by living here more than the folks of the county that aren't out here looking at it like we do. And so maybe by posting a sign or having information given to the folks around there, they have a contact number that they can help look at the condition and report it, so the operation of this culvert is enhanced by us working together with the county and the citizens saying, this is the situation, we need the culvert operated.
It's a
And
good
just a
idea.
thought.
Neighborhood flood watch.
There you go, yeah. So
Yeah, I was just bringing it up as a question, as a
That's a good
minor
idea.
way to improve the monitoring that, like, for example, I have on my house, if it detects a leak, it sends me an alert. Right, and it sounds like you have the technology to monitor it remotely, but the question remains as to whether or not it sends an alert, or someone has to, you know, be on shift and, you know, take the time to actually go out and look at it.
Well, you see, that the thing is that with a county, there's so many different bridges or roads or situations, and how does the county decide to spend money on a big alert or a monitoring system versus maybe it's more affordable where our property taxes support a reporting system or signs or something, how we can report it. I'm just trying to share a thought here that if we can help the county, they can help us and when the situation is needed. And that's the only thing, Brad, that I can offer that might, to make this written procedure, if this is added in there, this might enhance the whole thing for everybody.
Well, I mean, it brings up the point, game cameras are so inexpensive now, cell-based game cameras, $150 for a camera on there that the county could call up and look at the culvert situation anytime they want. You know, maybe that's a cheap solution to get people not having to drive. Okay, so people don't have to drive out there and actually look at it. They just flip on, you know, look at their game camera and can see it directly. $20 a month for cell and $150 for a camera.
Okay. Anyway, I think we've
Good idea.
kind of crunched this one. So Brad, maybe that's a thought from us for the folks writing the procedure. That might be assistance, I don't know.
yeah, one more comment. One of the perennial problems with this is that we have these two divisions. We have, I call it roads, and then we have the creeks, the water resources.
And public works.
Very bureaucratic name for it is.
Public works.
And okay, whatever, you get the idea. We got the ditch and we got the creek. They're run by two different government agencies. The gated culvert is in the ditch. The creek is the action level, and that's the water resources. So you've got these two parts of government that they have to learn how to communicate. And that's been a real problem all along.
Yep, I agree.
Well, I would say on the flooding situation, the Public Works, I would think would be the responsive party to operate that culvert. And so whether Water Resources is in cahoots with them or whatever, I'm just guessing Water Resources could care less if it's happening, because they're not responding. It's Public Works that be responding to operate the Biles culvert. So I'm just trying to keep it simple here, where in a time of response, maybe that's part of their written thing that they could operate that.
But just to be clear, it's Water Resources is responsible for the culvert.
Oh, okay.
They work,
So
they
they
have a
respond.
partnership with Public Works
Okay.
to help them keep it
But
operated.
would it be Water Resources who responds out to operate the culvert?
Not always, it could be Public Works because they have a partnership
Okay.
for Public Works to help them with on-call staff.
Okay, all I'm saying is that,
But they own the
yeah,
infrastructure,
okay.
Water Resources.
I'm just thinking about who responds and how we could
It's
get the
both.
word. Both, okay.
It could be one or the other,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, well, that's our best try for now. Maybe we could ask a guest speaker from Water Resources and Public Works, or whichever we feel, to come out here and talk about
We should have them come at the
flood
same time.
a flood situation, when they respond out here, what they might propose
Otherwise,
doing.
what he said, he
Go
said-
ahead, Cornelia, I'm sorry.
No, I interrupted you, I apologize. I just said if we're going to have them, we should have them here at the same time.
Yeah, right.
Right, so we don't have they said, and then we have to wait a month until they said, right?
Oh, so I'm making a note to that verse, and Water Resources. Okay,
Who's going to talk about the pigs?
well, we haven't gotten
You
there.
mentioned something about, this is the observation about the infrastructure stuff,
Right.
right? Yeah. So I think you, Margot mentioned something about in October or November about the discussion about the feral pigs. And wait, and anyway, well, back then I thought, oh, not my problem. Well, in the meantime, it's been my problem. I see them, they come in the afternoon. I have 20 of them walking right by my front yard. My dogs are going crazy and they don't care. That these pigs are so brazen and used to people, they just don't, we make noise, it's not like in the middle of the night. They also come then, and then they get chased by other critters, and there's bloodbaths and everything, but now they're everywhere.
I have pigs all the time chewing up my back acre.
Got
And I've reported a number of times to Fish and Game to come get a trapper and to try to address the pig population.
So is there, I just can't remember, because you said that it was addressed in some meeting, and I just wanted to know, do you need to get a permit to kill them?
Going from memory, I don't think you need a permit. Tom, do you remember?
You'd have to get your Fish and Game guide and look at it,
No,
but
If-
I believe it's open
an
season.
emergency, no.
If you have a farm and you can show that the pigs are predating, if they're destroying your irrigation or you're destroying your crops, then you apply to the Department of Fish and Game and you get a predation permit. And you used to have to print them out, but now it's just one permit and you can kill as many pigs as you want.
The other problem I have,
And wait, sorry. What do you do with the pigs? I mean, what's required that you do with the pigs you kill? Oh,
the problem when I reported to Fish and Game, I don't have crops on my land or anything, but I have a drainage, a fairly decent drainage that goes through there. And when those pigs are up there rooting around, it disrupts the flow of that drainage. And that's the point I was trying to make to Fish and Game, that why I wanted the permit, so I could put a shell here or there, take care of it.
This is Tom. If there's property damage, you can take the pig out and get the permit after the fact. It doesn't have to be a crop. Of course, if it is a crop, that is also property damage, right? It used to, the terms are much, much less restrictive, and you can hunt them day or night. I don't think you can hunt them with dogs, but I could be wrong on that. You can trap them, but it has to be humane traps, I believe. And I don't think you're allowed to sell the meat. although they do encourage you to, use the meat because it is considered a delicacy. It is a problem. I would suggest you go to the California Department of Fish and Wildlife's website for the most current regulations on it, but it is much, much more lenient than it was, say, a few years ago.
Quick question, does anyone know about a zoo that could take like 20 at a time?
Well, Margot and I have a similar experience with feral pigs, and what we've noticed is that, first of all, they're very, very intelligent, and if they detect hunting pressure, they tend to leave. So if you take out one or two, they get the message, and they don't come back for a long period of time.
They just bother the neighbors then?
Yeah, they move on.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's very effective.
Does that count for the coyotes up and down my driveway that I'm gonna ready to?
Well, hunting pressure on smart animals, seriously, is a consideration. It's not like you necessarily have to eradicate each and every one to have an effect.
That's good to know.
Okay, same thing with deer, same thing with fox, same thing with a lot of wildlife. If they detect hunting pressure, they know this area is too risky and they'll move on.
I've never had that kind of issue with mountain lions or coyotes or fox. I mean, they just keep the balance. They take what they need, but the pigs are a whole different world.
Yeah.
I find if you kill a couple of them, it buys you 3 or 4 months before they usually show up again.
Say that again?
If you kill a couple of them, it usually buys you 3 or 4 months before they show up again in your neighborhood.
The pigs,
Sorry,
Oh.
she had her hand up.
okay, just real quick. The pigs and the turkeys are introduced into this country. They weren't here as a natural thing. They've been introduced, and they've taken a hold and just multiplied. Look at the turkeys around the post office or in your backyard, as well as the pigs. Yes, Margot?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. A resource for residents who have feral pig problems is you can contact the Lake County Agriculture Commissioner's Office, and then they have a tracker. And I can't remember if there's a fee involved or if it's considered a county service, but at least you'll get more information if you don't have firearms or
You're-
not a hunter.
You're exactly right.
Thank
And
you.
I've been waiting for that trapper for the last 2.5 years. But good luck. Maybe I'm lost in the tide there. But anyway, so yes, it is a nuisance problem. Like I said, I just had a skunk hit in front of my place. I still smell it. So I get deer hit in front of my place, and the contractor for cleaning up animals is the waste management that the county hires to pick up your garbage. And what they'll do is if you have a deer carcass or something, they come out there in a truck and they'll run over it 24 times. And then they'll get pitchforks and stir it up, and then they'll run over it again, and then they leave it there. But the smell will remain, but they've ground it up. And so that's what the county's paying for. As I thought they'd come out in the pickup and just pick the thing up and take it to the dump, but no, they back over it and grind it up and stir it with a pitchfork and then grind it up again, because I've watched it a couple of times. So, and when I asked the county about it, they referred me to the waste management thing, and I called them and they say, yeah, we'll be out to take care of it. So that's how that one works, unless they've changed procedures. Anyway, yes, Sky.
Would it be reasonable for the advisory council to recommend the board of supervisors to fund eradication of the wild pigs?
That would be awesome.
To fund the ratification of the dead carcasses.
Wild pigs.
Wild pigs.
No, to get, instead of, they come out and say, I went through this thing. I call them up and then somebody comes over and they tell you a story. Then you gotta go to Sacramento and you gotta fill out this paperwork and you gotta have some super computer program, because otherwise their computer can't read it. Anyway, there's all these impediments. You can't just go out and shoot a gun because you're too close to the road and all this. The reality is, if we want to get a handle on these pigs here, and there's reduced fees now for shooting pigs. They're in the hunting deal and whatever, that different bit of law, I think, than predation animals in agriculture. But the truth is, the only viable solution to this is to get some government-funded people to come in here and eradicate these pigs.
Well, you can also request assistance from the federal wildlife trappers. We have federal wildlife trappers in Lake County who, they're federal agency, but they're kind of attached to our agriculture department. And you can contact them through our ag department to help deal with problem wildlife. So that is an option that already exists. And I can tell you, when I was police chief in the city of Lakeport, we had a large problem with wild pigs that were tearing up West Side Park, and we brought in the federal wildlife trapper. And as Tom mentioned, once you put a little pressure on them, they're gone. And they don't come back for a long time. So, I wouldn't hesitate to call for assistance of the trapper as well.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you so much for everyone for the feedback. I'm much relieved now.
I can tell you, the only other thing I learned about this wildlife thing is when skunks burrow into your hillside and have a family of skunks, take a bunch of mothballs, go down to the dollar store and buy a bag of mothballs and throw them down in there, and the next morning they're out of there. They're gone. They don't want any part of those mothballs.
Skunks don't like the smell?
Yeah, just like we don't like their smell,
You only like your
fight
own
fire with
smell.
fire.
Pepe Le Pew.
It doesn't work for ground squirrels, but it sure works for skunks. Anyway, let's move along here. So I think we're bringing that part to a close. Just another thought for you on the fire mitigation. I know it's winter, but every time this year, January and February, I have the exterminator come out there and spray my weeds. This is the time where the stuff they put on there soaks down and gets all that. And I've maintained a fuel break in my backyard by them spraying it. And so when summer comes around, I'm not weed eating. I'm not worried about the area down there. I got a huge, big bare ground soil. My trees are still growing, but I feel pretty comfortable. So it's just a thought. If this is the time of year, if you want to spray around your home, or the old 30 feet or 100 feet or whatever the thing is. Also, the state is talking about, no flammable vegetation 5 feet from your house. And these are all tips that the state is putting out. And I thought I'd share that with you. So my spraying is done for the year. I'm not going to have to use my weed eater or get out there and do it. It's working. This is my 4th year, and it's working pretty good. So just a thought. If you're going to mitigate your home and you want to spray, this is the time of the year to do it. And I find that the spray that they have is very effective. It's really working. So anyway, that's all I have to share on that. With that, unless there's anything else, we're going to move on to item G. Wait a second. Item F, updates on upcoming hearings, new permits for projects involving the Scotts Valley watershed or county government activities. Anybody have anything on G that they'd like to bring up? Or F, item F.
No.
Nope? Nope?
Thank you.
No. I
Okay.
had one in December, but now it's no longer active.
Okay, so we'll skip that and we'll go on to item G, ongoing input to the general plan and the local plans. I think Margot might have something to share for us. Margot, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and council members. Margot Kambara, Lake County General Plan Advisory Committee representative. Here is an update on Lake County 2050 General Plan and land use activity on 3 topics. First topic, this month, Lake County Board of Supervisors accepted the Lake County Climate Adaptation Plan, a living document. The plan should work for Scotts Valley and address Scotts Valley's flooding. Supervisor Sabatier in District 2 remarked that the climate adaptation plan covers wildfire more than flooding. Last week, I sent your council my public comment to the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors on this subject. With respect, I suggest that if the climate adaptation plan does not address Scotts Valley's situation, then Scotts Valley Community Advisory Council or other Scotts Valley residents could suggest revisions to the climate adaptation plan. If your commission, if your council wishes, I can help draft your recommendations on the climate adaptation plan. Alternatively, if your council agrees with my public comment, your council could write a letter to that effect. Second topic, Community Development Department Director Turner told me that the public draft of the Lake County General Plan update is expected March, April-ish. General Plan Advisory Committee and local area plan advisory committees will have access to the draft when the public does. This does not allow much time for review and comment. To maximize opportunity, Scotts Valley residents, Scotts Valley Community Advisory Committee members, and Lakeport Area Plan Advisory Committee members should send their recommendations for updates to the Lake County General Plan and the local area plan before February. One approach to ensure Scotts Valley's interests are addressed in the general plan and the Lakeport area plan is to, and I have 4 points here. First, review the current general plan and the Lakeport area plan. 2, note where the general plan and the local area plan fall short or could be improved. 3, review the list of local area issues identified early in the local area plan update effort, and suggest text and under which general plan element or section the text should go into. Similarly, if existing text in the general plan or the local area plan needs revision, identify the text and propose revised language. And if the revision requires action, such as a policy or procedural change, then identify the stakeholders and decision makers and recommend discussion. And fourth, another approach on this general plan update is to select key issues and concerns in the general plan or the local area plan. Review the current plans and identify areas for revision. And tonight we had live examples. Council member Cobble asked whether levee removal is a solution to Scotts Valley flooding, and Chair Scott also asked similar questions. This could be a topic reviewed for adequate attention in both plans. And similarly, Sky Hoyt reminds us that topsoil loss from erosion is a critical issue. Is that adequately addressed in the general plan and in the local area plan? Is it given the weight that it and the time and resources needed? And C, the pumping system or the static suction system suggested by Councilmember Hendricks also falls into this category. So this is the opportunity that we have. These plans are supposed to work for us for the next 20, 25 years. Well, if they don't have real solutions or point to, hey, these are our problems and we need to work towards the solutions, it's not going to happen. And this is our chance to make it happen. So I'm available to work with Scotts Valley and its effort to update the general plan and the Lakeport area plan to meet your needs and priorities. The advantage of having these priorities and concerns addressed in the plans is to promote continuity. Long after we leave the scene or staff changes within the county, et cetera, it'll be in black and white. This is the direction that we are proposing for Scotts Valley. Now, the third topic, standards for agricultural roads for cannabis projects. Community Development Department will be presenting its recommendations to Lake County Agricultural Advisory Committee in the near future. This topic can affect residents who live on roads that are not wildfire safety compliant with Public Resource Code 4290. This topic is of deep concern to residents who have one road in and one road out of their area. This topic's key points. First, in the state of California, to be designated an agricultural road, the road must be used only for agriculture. A, it cannot be used as an access road for residences. B, it cannot be used for commercial purposes, including commercial cannabis cultivation. And C, the county declaring a road to be an agricultural road does not exempt the road from Public Resource Code 4290 wildfire safety requirements if A or B above applies. Thank you for your attention.
You
Mr.
got my
Chair?
vote.
So I appreciate these monthly reports, and you're very committed to this. I want to thank you for your
Yes.
commitment to serve our community, Margot. Your respect grows every time that you share with us,
And we don't
and
take it for
committed to it.
granted.
Thank you.
Just a couple things here to help me along. In this plan, do you, and I haven't had a chance to stay up on as much as I'd like to. I got many other readings to do, but does it address in the Scotts Valley area anything about fuel breaks or control burns or anything to help protect, in other words, joint efforts by BLM, CAL FIRE, the fire district, and working together to try to develop a planned fuel break and control burn maintenance thing that's ongoing to protect the valley? I don't know how much priority or resources are available, but that's one question I'm concerned about.
And that's an excellent question. So that is not covered in the climate adaptation plan, but it might be a natural for the joint, the joint blah, blah, blah,
Right.
hazard, blah, 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 that plan.
Yeah,
And I have
hazard mitigation.
Right, and I haven't had a chance to go through that one cover to cover, but that's another challenge of all these plans, is that they're not necessarily cohesive. So you bring up excellent points, Mr. Chair, and we should have that kind of roadmap for Scotts Valley, pointing out to the various plans to say, we have a problem and we believe that here's the outline to track down or chase down some possible solutions.
So Jarrett, would you consider asking Margot about that too? Because you're active doing that on that property. You have a location of where you think it should be occurring. Is that something that you might consider working with Margot to get into the right part of this thing to give some input on that? I think you and I come from the same direction here.
Yeah. Well, it'd be great to brainstorm on the whole fire situation, and what the BLM has used to do and isn't doing and could do and all that. It would be great for us to do a brainstorm session.
Great. Look forward to that.
I'm sure you'd have some good inputs, and thank you so much. You've got
Speak
a lot
louder,
on the
speak louder.
table.
Volume up. Yes, I just,
We can do that.
go ahead. Did you get that? Did you hear that? Okay. The other
Excellent.
thought I
Thank you.
have, we just discussed about wildlife control. The wild pigs, the turkeys, I can't say the hitch, but I get shot on that one. But I know that we are a rural county. We only have 2 cities here. And I know that I heard about stories of mountain lions over there by the Tules and the lake. I've heard about bears up in the north end of the county, up there above Lucerne and Nice, and many different things. And so while we try to balance us living here with the wildlife, I don't know how great of a thought that would be as far as this plan. I know that the folks that have agriculture want to protect their lands, especially the pigs rooting them up or whatever. So I'm not sure how that might interplay into what's developing or, oh, what's her name? You mentioned her name.
Director Turner?
Yeah, Director Turner might know about that. So those are just a couple things that we're thinking about in regards to the future. Like I say, I just can't keep up with all the reading I have to do right now. But anyway, those are just our thoughts, and I appreciate any other thoughts for
Well,
Marco.
I think you started out with offering us your services in keeping, the whole picture going, and I, for one, would really appreciate that,
Very good,
right? Yeah.
Here, here.
very good. Are you interested in meeting, or how would you like to proceed?
I don't know.
Pardon?
I'm not sure what the best idea, because it's a deadline, right?
Well, they haven't set a deadline, but I know that once we get the draft, there isn't going to be much time. And this is just my experience. The earlier that we could submit input, the greater the chances of having that input incorporated.
Yeah, the only thought on this mitigation on fire control is that normally those agencies, BLM, CAL FIRE, do conduct regular control burns. They used to do fuel break maintenance and so forth. Now our inmates are not as many as we used to. I'm not sure financially or what the priority is. I don't know what BLM's fire plan or improvement for mitigation on a fuel breakup in their country there. I know I would guess if there had been an ongoing, well-planned fuel breakup there, a lot of these fires that happen at the next county over to the west of us wouldn't be coming over here.
Well,
We
how
would have
would
a
you
good place to stop
propose that we, you're the one who has the big picture. What would be the most helpful from us? Individual feedback via email or a meeting?
I would suggest a meeting of interested persons, and then we could discuss amongst ourselves what is feasible and level of interest. How does that sound?
Yeah. Just feel free to set a time and date. And
Okay.
ask whoever wants to come, and I'll spread the word if
Oh.
you want.
Okay,
That would be an interest of mine also.
terrific, thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Scott. Regarding your concerns about fire breaks and control burns and prescribed burns, I think those are very timely. I know Jared and I are currently working on a project now. We have had discussions with the planning department, and we got some constructive feedback and some common observations that the current ordinances around the idea of fire breaks and things like control burns could stand some improvement, to put it mildly, because, so for example, they're kind of shoehorned into the grading permit, and they don't really fit there. So we might be at a time, especially with the heightened awareness of fire prevention and having, safe, a buffer, for 4291 buffer, or even fire breaks and controlled burns, we might be at a point in time in our county's history where we have something more dedicated and focused on best practices for that. Because where it's now, it's almost like an afterthought.
Yeah.
And it makes it very cost prohibitive in its current model. But it doesn't have to be that way. So I would encourage, I think it's a good idea, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I took the time to build a resource directory for Scotts Valley of people that do tree trimming, weed eating, brush clearing, tree services, even taking care of equipment, small equipment, and so forth. So this resource, you could call and compare the services of different folks that could do this thing and find somebody that does the best job for the best price. And
Yeah, and I think that's another opportunity, is that it could generate a minor industry of people that have, the certification, the skills, and the knowledge to do this as a service for others. To give you sort of an example of the challenges right now, is a grading permit assumes that you're going to disturb land, but that's not the only way you can make a fire break. And they don't have, or have yet to provide us, Jared and I, an answer on, can we use what's called a masticator, which is basically just a giant brush hog. Right? So that's just not in the ordinance. And the timing for doing fire breaks and things like that conflict with the timing of keeping heavy equipment off of bare ground, because you don't want, like right now, it'd be a really good time for controlled burns, but you don't want erosion from disturbing the ground. So there needs to be a conversation about how to best fit that in.
Okay. Well, good input, everybody. Thank you for any other thing before we move on to the next item. Thank you all for your input. Not seeing any, we'll move on to item H, council member updates and calendared items. I'll start with Joel. Anything update?
No, thank you.
Jared, anything?
It's a step-by-step thing. I haven't had a huge amount of time to put in it, but I am working with BLM, creating more dialogue with their fire people, and when I get time, I want to connect in with most of their core management people, because I keep hearing all these good stories about how their staff is so much more dynamic and progressive than they've been for many years. So the time to start collaborating with BLM and or pushing on them for specific things for the community is good. I was thinking in earlier conversations, maybe it would be good to get a speaker from BLM as soon as possible on the sedimentation situation. What staff do they have committed to that? What projects do they have going on? And just say, we'd really like an update on what's been done, what's being done, and what their feelings are, and whether their remediation efforts around motorcycles are effective, or whether they need to do more. Just give us an update in general.
Well, you bring up a good point, because I've got written down here BLM speaker, as well as this contact ecologist person is still to speak. So that's something we need to talk about. Which speaker, and we'll cover that later. But anyway.
Yeah, we might even get two of them. We get Larry, who's worked with BLM a lot, and then get whoever's their sedimentation expert out of Ukiah. I wouldn't.
Let's see what we can
having
do.
both of them at once.
Let's see how we can do that for the next agenda. Okay.
All right.
Okay, Jody.
I will ask my tenant who he recommends, or if he would be willing.
Your son?
My tenant.
Oh, your tenants. Okay. Oh, well, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thank you. And Jody, anything else? Anything else from you?
Not at this
And
time.
Cornelia, go ahead.
I was going to ask if Viviana could update us on the St. Patrick's event.
Well, there's the flyer.
I haven't seen it. What's the date? You were there, so I was hoping you could tell us.
Last week, I attended the Scotts Valley Women's Club meeting and representing, because Jody and Cornelia were not able to attend. And they set the date for the St. Patrick's Day fundraising dinner. It will be here in this clubhouse on March 21st, which is a Saturday. And Doug is going to be doing the cooking. It's $20 a ticket, and there's hors d'oeuvres, there's a full meal and desserts, and it's bring your own beverage and your own utensils and plates.
And limited seating, so get your tickets fast.
Right,
And
right.
you calling Judy for the reservations?
Yes, and I did one posting on Facebook, and I'll be doing another one, but there's flyers that should be circulating soon.
Well, thank you. I've been to every one since I moved here.
Do we have, sorry to interrupt, do we have anyone on Zoom? No, the main reason I wanted you to tell us over the microphone, is because it'll be on the record for, this meeting, as opposed to somebody not being able to see the flyer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you can count on myself, and I always invite Brad and his wife. So I'll be calling Judy with those reservations, if I get the okay from the supervisor on that. Anyway, thank you for that, and thank you for sharing that information. Appreciate it. Okay, and Cornelia, anything else you have on your,
Updates?
anything, well, we're on item H,
Nope, nothing.
okay? And I really have nothing. So the one thing I'll be working on for the next meeting is today is Juneteenth, whatever this is, Juneteenth, what is that? Some holiday. Is this what it is? Okay. Okay, anyway, they call it Juneteenth though, right?
That's in June 19th.
God, anyway, okay, I'm sorry, Martin Luther King Day, so, I'm getting all these holidays, but I'll be looking at this year's calendar, see what our third Mondays fall on, if there's a conflict with some holiday or something, and trying to bring it to the council for the next week. What?
It's on your calendar, Martin Luther King Jr.
Well, okay, I don't have it on my calendar. Okay, thank you. So I'll be reporting that back, as well as we want to look at speakers for next week, for the next February 16th or whatever date that is.
Next month,
Next month,
yes.
February 16th.
No,
Next meeting is on February 16th, 2026, according to your agenda.
yes, you're correct.
I'm just following the agenda. Okay.
But that's a holiday.
You-
Don't change it because I won't be able to cover.
It's President's Day.
Oh, well, we're still going to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to do it. Okay. With that, any last things before we adjourn the meeting? Not seeing anything. Thank you, folks, for being here. Thank you for a new year. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor, for being here and supporting us. And this meeting is adjourned at whatever time it is. It is now
1844.
at 6:44.
Thank you, Greg.